this case is really about is love and democracy. I think what we talked about today is that you can love your neighbor no matter what their sexual orientation is, what choices they make about their life, and still have a disagreement about what marriage means. And the question is, who gets to decide the meaning of marriage? Is it people acting through the democratic process, or is it the federal courts? And our position has been, it's the people.
Well, we'll find out this week. Michigan Solicitor General there, John Birch, defending the fight for same-sex marriage rights that's landed at the feet of the Supreme Court this week, or at least at the steps. The argument dividing the justices. But when it comes to a path of tolerance, are we seeing a one-way street? Joining us now to go in depth on this issue is Washington Times columnist Tim Constantine. Tim, you have a new forthcoming column, which folks can find in the Washington Times very shortly, on this issue. And you write, quote, apparently the gay community exempts itself from the very tolerance it demands. And we covered this issue, a gay hotel owner having to apologize for hosting a Ted Cruz event. What does he think this says about the larger discussion we're having in this community about tolerance?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you put it in perspective, you know, the story came out last Friday about the baker who had refused, the Klein family owned a little bakery, had refused to participate in a gay wedding, didn't want to make the gay wedding cake. They were very nice about it. They directed them down the street to a different baker. They got sued. They have lost their business, and now the state of Oregon is telling them they have to pay a $135,000 fine because this was discriminatory. You can't simply decide you don't want to serve someone. That very same gay community that was critical of the Kleins and of that bakery was critical of the Out Hotel because it didn't say no to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz went to the Out Hotel, had an event there. The owner actually broke bread with him, had dinner with him. They talked about gay marriage and a number of issues. And then the gay community got mad at the gay owner because he should have said no. He should not have served Ted Cruz.
You think they would be thrilled with the fact that Ted Cruz was willing to sit down with an openly gay business owner and talk about some ideas. Let's listen to what Ted Cruz had to say.
The modern Democratic Party has gotten so extreme, so intolerant. There is a liberal fascism that is dedicated to going after and targeting believing Christians who follow the biblical teachings on marriage.
Now, Ted Cruz certainly has a way with words, but what about that liberal fascism?
There's right. There is an active group out there. And I'll give you an example. I did a issue maybe 6 weeks ago. I did a column on the gay issue, and there is an active group out there that monitors what's going on in mainstream media, what goes on, and then via social media, they spread the word, and the gay community elicits hatred and anger and so on. And if you read the column and read the comments at the end of the column, suddenly, I'm not sure that the gay community normally follows the Washington Times, but for some reason, an overwhelming number of people responding to that particular column were gay and were angry. There is a network out there that attacks anyone that disagrees with that agenda.
I think folks might be surprised more than you would even think, Tim, probably are tuning in because they're interested about a lot of the economic stories you guys cover. I do want to get your take real quickly. We got about a minute left on some of the comments made by the justices yesterday over this issue. It does seem to be like maybe there's an unwillingness for the judges to weigh in on this because public opinion seems to be so overwhelmingly in favor of having this legalized.
It's interesting. They've avoided it up till now, and because you had conflicting responses coming from different levels or different circuits within the federal court, they have been forced to respond to it. But I heard two particular things yesterday. Both wings had their own opinion, but in the center, you know, or just center right or just center left, they were questioning, is it right for 9 people to overturn the will of the voters? The justices themselves were asking that. I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah, I agree. That's the same thing that I focused on, too. And also what I think Justice Alito said about the family relationship here was also an interesting point, but something we'll have to keep our eyes on as they debate this. Probably already have their minds up, but we'll stay tuned. I think June is when we'll find out more. Tim Constantine, you can catch his new column coming up very shortly on the Washington Times, and you can also check him out at timconstantine.com. Thanks for being with us, Tim. Always great to talk with you.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton, what she's talking about today in terms of police, and how she's relating all this to Baltimore.